There are those who say that you're completely wrong, always, and all people are completely wrong to say, if you build it, they will come, as per that movie with Kevin Costner. They then add that that's why you're going to have to do a lot of marketing for your product, your ideas, even your personality, that you're really no different than anyone else. In fact, Chris Do in California has said that in a video on Instagram marketing that if you think you've come up with something unique, that's probably wrong. And then he goes on to talk of how 90% of movies are not unique, and that much material that seems new is simply something brought back to light that was out 50 years ago, 100 years ago or more, and maybe possibly with a new twist. There's also Seth Godin, who says, for instance, that you really can't build a better mousetrap, generally. And then he gives a few examples otherwise, though. And I would throw out two. Many people believe the Mac computer and iPhone to be a better mousetrap, so that would contradict this talk here. Some would say, too, that certain religions were a better mousetrap when coming along, including Christianity. Many would say that this was a very big advance forward in the concept of love, for instance, from a very legalistic jot and tittle approach to a more compassionate approach. And then there are those who would say that things like modern medicine advances, penicillin, or certain vaccinations, or the creation artificially or otherwise of insulin for those with diabetes issues, was great advancing and thus a better mousetrap also. Although often a team effort not created by one individual alone. And then, of course, Einstein, who came up with the idea of relativity, or is said to have, because he put massively more refinements to the ideas than were existing at the time. But the prevailing idea is that, in general, it is told to us that you're fooling yourself if you think you've come out with a better mousetrap. I do, though, like the idea, for instance, of the man who has headed up Project Life Mastery. I'm trying to remember his name. And at one point in the video, he had said that he would like to marry a certain type of woman who had certain characteristics, but he wasn't the person himself at the time who could attract such a person. So he set himself the goal of refining himself so that he would be both worthy and good material to be accepted by the type of person he was looking for. So you might say he wanted to become in his own life a better mousetrap, shall we say. And then there are others who say phrases like, be the change, or that if you refine your words, you refine your life and your impact on others. And in my viewpoint, these being such colossally big goals and taking such a long time thus, that to achieve such, relatively speaking, would be to invent a better mousetrap as per who you are. And then, interestingly too, Brian Tracy once in a video, trying to remember the 4 P's of success or the 4 P's of marketing, once said, or was it John Osseroff, that the average real estate agent makes maybe $25,000 or a little more a year at the time this video was put out, but that there are people making $800,000 a year or more per year as real estate agents. And the key thing is that the clientele was willing to pay much, much more money than average for the average sales agent, because the real estate agent themselves, their personality, was worth it in terms of the pleasantness, reliability, overall experience, and just going the extra mile by far. So these very rare real estate agents were termed the product basically themselves, and thus a better mousetrap, as I would call it. Now, if someone were to simply sit and say, well, I can't become a better mousetrap or create one through a lot of hard work and sacrifice and patience and lots of years put in, and following the beat of my own drum, shall we say, much more than others. Was that Emerson or Thoreau who said that? If we were to do all that, we might achieve a better mousetrap effect in ourselves or in a product external to ourselves much more regularly, and not have to listen to people telling us that it's impossible, and thus we need a whole lot of marketing to distinguish our product from all the rest of the products that also are not better mousetraps. We need thus to do what they say, get the message out 8 times, use product funnels extensively, and I would say apply a lot of lipstick, if you will, to products that otherwise can't be distinguished from each other, because they're not a better mousetrap. But I do believe that you can achieve great results in life. Just look at this man who wrote the book, You Can't Hurt Me. There's a 20-minute summary of this, maybe a shorter one too, on YouTube. I'm trying to remember his name. Mr. Goggins or Groggins? Groggins or Goggins? Very inspirational of how he crafted his life and achieved phenomenal things from seemingly way down below average, way down, including a very traumatic childhood. He crafted his life into a better mousetrap, but how he had the resources to, when arguably many didn't, is a determining factor, perhaps, or surely, but not impossible. But unfortunately, there are the factors that make common sense when heard, that we give up too soon, and that we are too vulnerable to what other people think of us. And that tying into the phrase tangentially, perhaps, of our needing to march to the beat of our own drummer. I listened, for instance, a week ago to a biography of about an hour's length on YouTube on Emerson, and 2 key writings of his, Self-Reliance and Nature. Ironically, he faced a lot of difficulties earlier in life as a writer and speaker, including as a Harvard grad, being basically banned from speaking there for a number of years, and very much hated by a number of ministers too. His being one himself, by the way. I believe he went both to Harvard to study something or another, and then Harvard Divinity School. And yet, as time went on, when he persisted, it is said that some of his writings were taken more than anything else, I suppose, except for the Bible, to many soldiers in the Civil War in their backpacks or knapsacks. Very fascinating. He stuck in there. I know, too, as a writer myself, I read regularly that it is said that many people in general, including writers, give up just on the cusp of success for a variety of reasons, I suppose. And there's also a man, trying to remember his name, Du Bois, who talks a lot about creating voiceover careers, saying that there's a lot of turf warfare and envy, and that many people quit too soon. And you may have to persist with, say, 50 applications or I forget if that was him who said that, but you may have to persist, and not know why exactly one's being turned down all the time, but have hope. And perhaps that's another element then there in this developing a better mousetrap through sticking to it and really plugging away, that you have hope when many people might not. To finish out, I love that phrase, it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't over till the fat lady sings. Yogi Berra said one of those or both of those. I'm trying to remember who else might have contributed to the phraseology, but I know from my personal life now at 61, I've had a number of downturns that I thought were going to finish me off, and as luck would have it, or fate, call it what you will, somehow I stuck in there and managed to survive and accomplish some things I thought were going to be impossible. And I won't outline those at the present time, but I'm sure glad it worked out that both I didn't bite the dust yet, and I somehow kept in the back of my mind with phrases on the wall all over sometimes to remind myself of key things. Call them affirmations or whatever. That it ain't over till it's over, being one of them on the wall for a period of time. I know, too, I had scanned a book 10, 20 years ago by Shad Helmstetter, who talked of this topic, too, of the importance of what we tell ourselves. I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but it was a good book amongst the many. So there you have it as to my view then on this business of mousetraps and being told you need to do a lot of marketing, and if you think you're going to be that one person out there who's going to have a better mousetrap or a field that everybody's going to flock to, like that movie The Field of Dreams, you're deluded, or you're a narcissist or something or another, you're manic. I think we should think twice, and it isn't that often that there's a better mousetrap, but perhaps if we looked in society to a variety of different genres, whether acting, great inventions, some would say the iPhone and Mac, amongst others, in medicine, Albert Schweitzer, and so on, we might find that there are more better mousetraps out there than we could imagine at first glance, and they don't just all come under the rubric of a widget out there that, or a fabulous new ice cream genre, shall we say, or a better mousetrap in and of itself. Noting that mice sure do figure out how to escape existing ways of going under, shall we say, that quite amaze me. So, yes, even a better mousetrap is hard to invent sometimes as per mice, but not impossible. And I think that's cause for hope then. If we identify the key components to what made certain people create better mousetraps as a product, idea, or in themselves, they themselves becoming the better mousetrap, that might give us hope, because those things are not impossible to understand theoretically. Maybe it's hard to implement, but not theoretically impossible to see the roots of. And that's my thinking at the present time.